Paul Bryant once said that winning isn't everything, but it beats anything that comes in second. As a little girl, I played soccer and soon found out that I am a very competitive person. That said, growing up, I have always strived to put my competitive edge into outlets that would benefit both myself and my community. I came across one of these outlets during my sophomore year of high school when I was introduced to Mrs. Jessica Basie, a teacher here at St. Thomas Aquinas High School and a former TEDx speaker herself. Mrs. Basie invited me to go paddleboarding on the intracoastal waterways with her to pick up trash. I instantly fell in love with the activity and soon began to challenge myself to pick up more and more trash each time I went out. I felt that if I could keep picking up more and more trash, it would make me a winner. However, I knew this was not entirely true. That's when I realized that I struggled to find a good definition of what being a winner is. Was it really picking up more and more trash on the intracoastal waterways? Scoring a goal in a soccer game when I was younger? Getting an A on my math test at school? All of these situations are great because I would achieve success through them. But they are not situations in which I would deem myself a winner. I was stuck on this question for days before I realized that being a winner is only determined by one sole factor. In order to be a winner, there has to be a loser. In our ecosystem today, countless native species that have been winning in their ecosystems for centuries on end are now becoming losers due to the rise of invasive species. But what even is an invasive species? According to Oxford University Press, an invasive species is defined as one that enters into a habitat it had not previously occupied, then establishes a population there and spreads autonomously. Their presence in an ecosystem foreign to them can cause a disturbance to the entire community of plants and animals residing there. If not properly acknowledged or taken care of, an invasive species can even cause the extinction of a native species. However, in some circumstances, we may not even realize that a species is invasive. It was not until my freshman year of high school, when sitting at a desk in biology class, that I found out iguanas are invasive to Florida. I had no idea what this could even mean. As a little kid, I used to sit in the back seat, look out the passenger window, and count to my mom how many iguanas I saw on my way home from school. I mean, I saw iguanas everywhere, so I guess it just became easy for me to believe that iguanas belonged here. This false belief of mine was true to that of many citizens in Florida in the late 1900s. In Kenneth L. Christo's article, Distribution, Natural History, and Impact of the Green Iguana in Florida, he evaluates the quick transition from iguanas formerly being seen as a friendly reptile to them now being seen as a nuisance to all of Floridian society. But why would such a dramatic transition like this occur? According to William H. Kern Jr., an associate professor at the University of Florida, the most common forms of damage an iguana poses to Florida's natural ecosystem is by eating and destroying valuable landscape plants, shrubs, trees, fruits, and flowers. Iguanas have led to the decline in many of Florida's native plant species, further harming all of the animal species in Florida that rely on these plants for food and shelter. Iguanas also tend to burrow next to Florida's seawalls, which causes erosion and eventual collapse of those seawalls, which Florida relies on for protection against hurricanes and high tides. Additionally, aside from these common disturbances, iguanas can pose much more abstract harm to our own lives. Large iguanas basking on airport runways have begun to pose a hazard to airplanes. According to Christo, there are at least 5 known records documented of airplanes colliding with iguanas on the runway before the takeoff or landing of a flight. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I personally could not imagine an iguana putting my flight in danger. This kind of activity from iguanas proves that they are not only a danger to plants and to seawalls, but also to our lives as well. An iguana is the perfect example of a winner. Iguanas invaded Florida, and in little to no time outcompeted against our native species, and proved to be an inconvenience to all of Floridian society. Iguanas are winning. Iguanas are winning because right now, we're the ones losing. Iguanas are winning because I get home from school and see them swimming in my pool. Earlier, I know I claimed to have a very competitive nature. And with that being said, I think it is time for our comeback season. We as a society have been losing to invasive species such as the iguana for far too long. And we don't have to anymore. The rise in new ecotechnology has changed the game for us. Remote sensing technology, specifically, has allowed scientists to detect where iguanas are in Florida. This is because remote sensing is the process of detecting and monitoring the physical characteristics of an area of land by measuring that area's reflected and emitted radiation at a distance, a process usually completed through the work of satellites. These specialized satellites are able to gather as much information about the state of an object without having to physically come into contact with that object. This is because remote sensing actually works by analyzing and revealing an area of land as a 2- or 3-dimensional landscape photo with different colors to represent different species, a process particularly made possible through multispectral imagery. A multispectral image is an image that displays multiple light wavelengths across the electromagnetic spectrum. Since individual species, such as the iguana, absorb and reflect light at different wavelengths, both native and invasive species can be easily identified through the process of color-coded remote sensing. The only catch with this is that remote sensing takes an aerial image from thousands of miles away, meaning that remote sensing alone cannot be relied on to control or eradicate the iguana species from Florida. Luckily, scientists developed environmental DNA technology to accompany remote sensing technology exactly for that reason. Once remote sensing has determined the overall regions in Florida in which iguanas may reside in, environmental DNA technology is able to pinpoint the exact locations and ecosystems that iguanas are actually in. Research by the U.S. Geological Survey is leading to new techniques in the use of environmental DNA, or for short, eDNA, to detect the rise and spread of invasive species. This is because environmental DNA is a nuclear or mitochondrial DNA that is released from an organism into their surrounding environment. Thus meaning that when a scientist enters into an environment, gathers DNA samples, and analyzes all of those samples, they are able to indirectly determine most, if not all, species present in that given ecosystem. U.S. Geological Survey scientists, specifically studying invasive species, collect air, water, or soil samples and analyze those 3 samples to determine whether the DNA of a target invasive species is present. This environmental DNA sampling process has allowed scientists to detect where invasive species are before they have disturbed their surrounding community. Now, this is a game changer. The use of remote sensing technology, accompanied by environmental DNA technology, has the ability to control invasive species such as the iguana. I mean, just imagine a world where our ecosystems are in perfect harmony at all times, where they don't have to face disturbances from invasive species. A world where we don't have to worry about iguanas swimming in our pools. The rise in new eco-technology has given us the opportunity to stop dreaming of a world where we become the winners again, and actually take action towards making a permanent change to our natural ecosystems. We are all in the middle of what is commonly referred to as the game of life. And I don't know about you, but I'm Mia Medrano, and I hate losing. Thank you.